They're launching the 3 Wait, hold on.
Yes.
This is intentional.
Break it down.
APEP eats the sun?
Yes, sun.
And they're firing
Every
APEP
day.
rockets
And
at
then-
the Eclipse?
Yes.
That's why the Egyptian Book of the Dead is the official name is the Book of Coming Forth by Day.
And maybe
you know
they've
about-
noticed
hold on,
solar interference
You,
at
you
CERN.
know about Keck meme magic in 2016, right?
Yes.
We live in a simulation.
What
This is the final season. I hope you guys are
It's
ready
not
for
the final season.
It's not the final season.
Yeah, I
It's
agree
not
with
how
how it
many,
ends.
how many
Yeah.
more seasons are there?
I don't know, but
No.
this isn't it.
Yeah, final season's black pill stuff. I have optimism.
Dude, it
for
goes
Oh,
into-
no. I'm not saying the final season is bad.
We still have to
I'm
see,
saying like
no, we still have to see Fetterman in the White House.
And then we're going to have to
like
look
that's
at...
definitely going to
No,
happen.
I don't know.
Season
I
zero,
feel like
it's going to happen all over again.
You're watching Earth, and this is the great climax of the final season, and then they might relaunch. They'll reboot Earth with like Earth rebooted, and it'll be starring Fetterman or something. I'm
Starring
the
Fetterman.
Earth 2, the
it'll
final
be on
reboot.
Netflix and Tim Pool's black.
He wears all white.
Played by Trudeau.
Final season doesn't mean bad things happen. It means this is when the hero wins, the story is resolved, and we live happily ever after.
Okay.
So like Donald Trump is going to be riding that Velociraptor with the machine gun, like in those pictures. You know what I mean? Like,
Out of
it's
the
gonna-
eclipse to stop the rockets.
Okay, can I just pause real quick and say, this is actually really crazy that the rockets are called APEP and they're being fired at the sun.
All right,
Yes.
is APEC an acronym for something, or are they named after the god?
I'm sure they made up an acronym for
They're
it.
atmospheric perturbation around eclipse path rockets. They did that on purpose.
Symbolic,
But it's not.
evil.
If I can take my tinfoil hat off,
No.
he's not really called APEP. It's really called like Apopsis. Like APEP,
Right.
it's not really the name.
Okay.
But APEP is close enough for me.
No.
A peppy or a
I think it's a few
pep or
different
a
versions of it.
APEP's the name.
No, there's 3 different names, and the most common is like Apopsis. It's
Right.
not it's
Apophis.
Yeah.
Apophis.
That's Greek though.
APEP.
APEP is Egyptian. Apophis is Greek. Same deity.
Same
He's
god.
also not a big deal in Egyptian mythology.
Right. He battles. Well, have you seen that movie, Gods of Egypt or whatever it was called?
No.
With it's where like I can barely remember the movie. Set steals the power of Ra or whatever. No, not Rav.
Yes, that would be Ra, Horus, Osiris.
No, Horus, I think.
Horus is the hawk.
Yeah, and he has they made a movie about this where like the hot guy flies around and then he goes up to a chariot or something in space and like Ra is there and chasing a giant Apophis or something.
Yes, that's
Sounds
correct. That's what happens
subtle.
every day.
Yeah,
This
yeah.
Apopsis eats the sun, and then the sun it becomes nighttime, and then every morning he gets defeated.
They made a movie.
This is like, I do think that the sun causes disturbance feedback in CERN, so they're probably waiting for a moment to block out the sun. The moon has the magnetic torsion to it because of its makeup of iron, so they could be using that as a shielding mechanism, that they're putting rockets up to watch atmospheric disturbance while it's happening. And I wonder what time they're firing CERN up. Is it like,
Probably
are they waiting for that exact moment? And they're
3:33. I don't know. They have some weird time, I think, for all these things. But they also found a ghost particle, they call it, in CERN recently.
what's it called?
I think they call it the ghost particle. Just like they were looking for the Higgs boson, the God particle.
They found it.
I've got
supposedly. Yeah.
I got bad news for you, Michael.
What?
So this is a simulation, and we are just ancillary radio characters in the background when the main character is going on his adventure.
Who's
Yeah?
the main character?
Trump probably.
Do you just get to pick your guy
It's
when
Trump.
you start? I think we're all the main guy.
Trump's the main guy, and like, you know, when I mentioned this before, it's like when you play Fallout and you have post-apocalyptic radio with Three Dog, and like we're Three Dog, we're just in the background talking about stuff, and the main character is out there somewhere listening.
If this is a season, like you're saying, it would be Trump because the whole world shut down to destroy him.
You need to meet the elves, my friend, and then you'll be singing a different song.
I've been thinking about DMT and smoking DMT, but really about geometry and about the Kabbalah, about this tree of life, about the pattern, the way the energy flows around the tree of life in the Kabbalah, and how if you can understand the language, and they're talking about how this is like ancient language, God would make vibrational sounds and they would see shapes, like cymatic shapes, and then they'd write those shapes down and equate those shapes to the noise that they'd heard, and that's their alphabet. So like if you can memorize the sound meaning, then when you go into the DMT realm and they show you all these geometric shapes, you know what it's saying.
Oh. Okay, wait.
Michael, have you met the elves?
I don't know what you're talking about. But Ian, that was kind of circuitous what you just said. And at first I'm like, okay, this is Ian going full Ian. And then you actually ended up in the correct, in a very smart place, which you often do. So I have to think about what you just said because that's really kind of interesting.
Thank you for waiting till the last minute. I'm like that shadow guy in Final Fantasy VI. If only when the mountain and the island is falling and you think everything's about to end, if you wait till the very last second, he jumps onto the ship with you and then he joins you for the rest of the game.
There's a 6.
That proves it. Have you seen the elves? Have you
It
met
was
them?
actually 3.
I'm not going to talk
In the
about
US.
felonies on this show.
Oh,
Is it a felony?
Yes.
I mean, there's spiraling injunctive
Well,
patterns.
I heard of a
whatever
guy
you want.
one time on a podcast. I read Vice had an article about this. A guy wrote about doing DMT, and he said that he met a purple woman. You can just Google it and find the article or whatever. And then I don't know the full story. I can barely remember it. But he said like afterwards, he was talking to his friend who also had done DMT, and he asked his friend what it was like. And he says he often talks to his purple woman. And the dude started freaking out because he was like, the purple woman I met said she knew one of my friends. And
I can go on about this at length, but one of the things, just from a completely, I'm not saying this as mean to you, non-Ian perspective is, all these people who consume this or inhale this substance are having similar experiences, and they don't have a scientific explanation of why, because it's very specific.
yeah.
What do you think it is?
Their extended state DMT is ongoing.
What's that?
Extended state DMT experience.
Yeah.
Where people are put in beds and they put an IV drip DMT to put them in this state.
For hours. Many. I don't know the extent of it.
What if this is like, have you seen in Rick and Morty, he's playing Roy? It's a fairly common scientific science fiction theme, but they basically go to space, Dave and Buster's, and they play a game called Roy where you put on this headset and then you live a full normal mundane life. And then he lives to be 80 and then dies and then takes off the helmet and he's like, I'm Roy, I'm Morty, and hey, you sold guns to like he comes back to him. What if that's all it is? And when you take DMT, you're basically forcing the headset off. And so like
yes.
everyone's sitting around you and you're playing this video game and then all of a sudden your headset's coming off like, whoa, what are you doing?
Yeah,
what are you doing?
All you see is like binary. You see electrical current. And you're like, this is making no sense. But if you understand what the impulses actually are telling the machine to tell you, then you can like read the current.
I think it dissolves the veil between this and whatever else is out there. I haven't done DMT, but I've spent many years doing a lot of other things. And on some of those things, I was in other places, whether it was more pattern-based places or places with kind of like machine elves, but I don't think I'd call them that from the descriptions I heard of machine elves. But I think you just are able to trespass into a place you're not usually allowed in. And if you're lucky, you come back.
What say you, Michael Malice?
Well said.
Thank you.
Oh, there you go.
I think you're already in there, but you don't maybe allowed, like, because it'll try and twist your brain away from it. You know, your brain's got this built-in like defense mechanism where it doesn't want to see it almost, where it's like you got to ignore that part of it for now to survive.
It's also like trying to explain a cube to a two-dimensional being.
Right.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yep.
Well, the stories I've heard are that there are demons who will offer you the deal.
I've heard that
from some people, that they've been approached by entities who will say, I'll give you access to great knowledge. And it's a deal. Accept the deal. Yes. What do I get? You get all these great things. What do you want in exchange? Don't worry about it. That's the general idea that multiple people have told me that. In different people who don't know each other who are, but these are people who are Christian and have also done DMT.
Dude, so you think that, or are you going to say something cool?
I was going to say, on the other hand, there are people who think that once you break that veil, you can become kind of a so-called chiropractor of reality and kind of nudge things into the way that they're supposed to be.
What does that mean? Like Neo in the Matrix?
Kind of.
So you can like bend reality, like you can bring Berenstain Bears back.
Well, or no, just kind of like if things are wrong, like you're empowered to kind of shift them and have them in a more positive and aligned direction.
What if it was always Berenstain Bears, but then the Large Hadron Collider shattered reality a little bit, and then it's like turn the A into an E, and now we're all just supposed to accept it?
I just had this actually happen over like yesterday. I was with my friend Michael Wolf, who's a strength coach, and he has a dog, and his dog looks
Love that guy, Michael.
Yeah, the dog's name's Chops, great dog. And I had remembered, and I still have no explanation for this, that he had done a DNA test on the dog, and the dog is very big and has a Great Dane coloration. It's like black on the back with a white chest and white feet. That it was part some kind of retriever, part Rhodesian Ridgeback, even though there's no ridge on the back, something else, and there's no Great Dane. And he goes, I've never had this dog DNA tested. I go, I don't know any other dog that looks like a Great Dane. I don't have that many dog friends. I'm positive we had this conversation because it was so odd that this dog is not part Great Dane. He goes, I don't want to know what he is. I mean, he's clearly partly Great Dane. Like, what? And I'm like, am I in another reality? Like, I have no explanation.
Do you
for this
think
situation.
sometimes false memories come from dreams? You don't think you remember?
Or it could be some kind of sliding, like
Right.
the very thin I don't
shifting
know.
from something else you said.
Sliding, yeah. I have no explanation for this.
You just reminded me that Aleister Crowley also summoned a demon on
Crowley.
April 8th. Crowley, sorry. Crowley sounds so much
I know, but
better.
Crowley like holy.
Yeah, thank you.
I just lost an auction for one of his signed books. Someone paid 11 grand for it.
So, oh my goodness. Do you know what I'm talking about, though, when he summoned the demon on April 8th, which is the same day they're doing all this stuff?
What the?
No, I don't know this
He,
story.
he claims to have talked to a demon for 3 days. I'll look it up.
It's called divorce court.
What if the reality is the higher power, be it whatever you'd like to call it, does play an active role in the universe, but we can't perceive it when it happens?
I think that's true.
And we all shift along with it.
I think that's true.
We are pieces of the universe, right?
Mm-hmm.
We are all comprised of the matter of the universe. We eat it. It becomes us. Our bodies are of it. So if there's a shift to the whole universe, we are a component. We shift along with it.
Yeah, but we're also changing the universe with our own shape. So like, if we're like part of the membrane of reality that's vibrating and causing the shapes as we know it, not only is the universe vibrating and causing us to change shape, we are influencing that vibration with our behavior and then causing the entire subsystem or macro, whatever you want to call it, super system to change.
Yeah, Tim, can you admit? Sorry, just ask you quickly.
Can I admit?
Can you acknowledge? I'm not. This isn't a gotcha question. I don't. It sounded like a gotcha question, but your life and what you're doing with this show, in a way, is indistinguishable if life was a simulation and you're like a video game. Like, it's kind of insane what this show is, right? Like, presidential candidates come here, you just talk to them, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
I mean, it must be a simulation, I guess.
But it's indistinguishable. It's just so crazy if you sit down and think about it.
But the reality is also this, like, isn't that just life? You know what I mean?
Well, sure.
We've talked about before, even before the show and just life in general, you have these weird synchronicities you find yourself in. Like, throughout my whole life, there's been just weird moments that I'm like, how is this happening? Meeting Kurt Vonnegut's widow or something like this. And Kurt Vonnegut means a lot to me,
One thing that I've told this story before, when I was like 15, I was watching a skate video and I was making fun of these skateboarders to my friends who were standing behind me. We were watching, we're like, these people are losers. And then like 2 months later, I met them. And then I felt really bad. And I was like, they were really nice to me and they were cheering me on and they were giving me high fives. And all my friends were sitting there like, they knew that I was like this little, just this little dick on the internet.
Right.
And then, but here's the thing. I thought to myself, I was like, wow, that's really embarrassing. I feel bad because these are actually cool kids. Like, these are cool people. We should skate together. And then when I was like 18, a similar thing happened where my friends were all hanging out. We watched a skate video and I'm like, this is the stupidest thing. I was like, that person's so goofy looking. And then like a year later, they showed up to a skate park I was at and they were like, hey, cool, nice to meet you. And I was like, these are the nicest people I've ever met.
Funny.
And then at that point, I'm like 19 and I was like, I will never disparage another stranger again.
That lasted 5 minutes.
In that way, though, for no reason. Like, just trying to be a snarky, cool kid who thought I was better and I was going to insult people.
I found
if I got a reason to insult you, I will.
If you can criticize people accurately and you still can maintain kindness, you're not hateful about it, they want to be around you. Even if you think they're your like opponents, if you're accurate in your criticism, they hear you, they'll come to you.
If it comes from a place of kindness. People talk about having Case of the Mondays. Last Monday, I was flying to New York, and the worst way to wake up is when you're on a flight and you hear the person directly behind you on the plane scream, "Someone please help me."
Oh.
And I look, and he had his hands around the person next to him's throat.
Whoa.
And I don't know if it's a function of I've watched too many YouTube airplane freakouts. I'm like, okay, cool, this is happening. And my first thought was, should I film it?
Yes.
And then I'm like, if I film it, should I yell out "World Star"?
Yes.
But there was no part of me that's like, I'm in trouble. Like, I knew this isn't how I die. And it was really weird to have that knowledge. And it's a spoiler alert, just to ruin the story. The guy's mom was having a seizure and she wasn't breathing and she's fine now. It worked out. I'd never seen someone have a seizure before. It's very disturbing because it was like a mannequin. Like her face was completely blank. I've never seen anything like it before since.
This is an important PSA to the general public. I went to what do you call it? There was like a fundraiser event, and it was a politician who was raising money for epilepsy awareness.
Yeah.
And he said movies have made people think that a seizure is a guy screaming and shaking violently.
Yeah.
And he was like, often a seizure will be you're in the middle of talking to someone and they just stop talking. And then everyone's like snapping their fingers like, hey, are you still there? And they're not answering you. And then they just all of a sudden go right back into their sentence.
Yeah.
And people will laugh and be like, haha, that was so silly, not realizing this person could have just died.
Yeah.
So people need to understand that
They
too.
rebooted. And by the way,
It is like
IWAS,
rebooting, yeah.
IWAS is the entity that Crowley talked to on April 8th. Which
How
is
do you
the
spell
same
that?
day. AIWASS.
Okay.
Iwas.
I think that's how you say it. But I said Crowley wrong, so who knows?
Well,
It's got
I don't know about all that, but we do have some conspiracy theories for you that we should get into now. We have this from the Daily Mail. Ex-National Security Advisor John Bolton, we trust him, warns Russia is very likely behind Havana syndrome amid fears it's being used as energy weapon, as he claims it isn't being taken seriously. As soon as John Bolton comes out and claims it's Russia, I immediately say it's probably not. But the story is that 60 Minutes ran this. They ran a story where they said they had a whistleblower claiming that Russia has energy weapons. They park cars near U.S. intelligence agents' domiciles or places of work, and the people report hearing things like a marble rolling down steel or a ringing, and then all of a sudden, over a period of time, they start becoming dizzy. Their brain can't process stairs anymore. They become light sensitive and have to wear special glasses. One woman said she went to the doctor and got a brain scan, and the doctor said there are holes in your brain, like that have just developed like rather rapidly. So the question is, do Russian spies have weapons to scramble the brains of
This isn't
humans?
the first time I've heard of something like this, because I know there are these compilations of people, and I know Judge Judy is one of them, where like there's newscasters or like prominent personalities and they're talking and then they just and like their mouth doesn't work, and it's if you look up these clips, look up Judge Judy forgets how to talk, and it's not a stroke. And there's like there's like a lot of these videos that I've seen.
This Havana syndrome's been around since I think the 70s. Whenever this is where it comes from, Havana, Cuba, and they purportedly were experimenting on American troops.
I've seen this, Judge. This isn't a sliding
Is it
door.
one of those? Yeah.
No, but the title is not good.
No, but Judge Judy forgets how to speak.
Shout out to Judge Judy.
Thanks for watching this clip from the Timcast IRL podcast. Hang out with us live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. and become a member over at timcast.com for uncensored, members-only shows exclusive. Thanks for hanging out, and we'll see you all next time.